What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Double Dragon Gaming, and yes, I am still here. Yes, I am still making videos. It's been a long time since I've made one, and hopefully this will be the start of me making videos again. I will try to make them when I can, but we'll see. Yeah, it's been a while, and I just worked a full shift. Just got home not too long ago, so I'm exhausted, but I'll do the best I can. And so with my first video coming back after all this time is going to be about that bad boy right behind me. My arcade 1-up cabinet that I got for Christmas, just this past Christmas, not too long ago. So hopefully you guys, someone will get something out of this, out of my story here and my experience trying to mod this thing. You know, I was gonna try and do a video about the modding process as I was doing it. I had some people actually ask me to do that and threw that idea my way. It was something that I was thinking about. I was aware of it, but you know, honestly, with the fact that I haven't really been making too much content lately, and just the daunting process of doing this, you know, it was not easy. Yes, it was a disaster. Obviously, it worked out in the end because it's back there and it's working, but just trying to do the project and work on it, to try and shoot video while I was doing it, it was just going to be too much for me. So that would have made for a better video, most likely. It would have been for a more enjoyable video. It would have probably made things easier. It would already be done now. But I'm going to talk about my process of what happened, what I went through in doing it, and just going to be some story time for you. So, you know, what to expect in this video. It's going to be my experience building the arcade 1-up cabinet stock. So when I first got it, just coming out of the box, a little bit about that. My thoughts on arcade 1-up cabinets in general. I'm going to talk about that. Of course, the 3-week journey I went on with this project. So I'm going to go into all of that, and then finally, was this whole thing worth it? So did I enjoy it? Did I not enjoy it? Regardless of the fact, was it worth it in the end? All the work that I did and all the problems that I had along the way. So anybody that's gonna be watching this video, that's what we're gonna be talking about. That's what I'm gonna be talking about today. So I got the arcade 1-up cabinet for Christmas 2023, and it's now April 5th. So I've had it for quite a while, and you know, I'd always wanted one of these things. I was always interested in having an arcade 1-up cabinet, or just an arcade cabinet in general. You know, being as old as I am and growing up in the 80s and having gone to arcades, and you know, as a kid I always wanted one, and even in my adult years I had always wanted one, but you know, they're big and they're expensive, and you know, it was just never feasible, and it never made sense to try and do that. But my girlfriend was well aware of the fact that I'm, you know, being a gamer, and I must have mentioned, you know, arcade 1-up cabinets or arcade cabinets in general. So she was trying to come up with a really cool idea for a Christmas gift for me, and lo and behold, you know, she surprised me with this thing, and it was awesome. You know, I am so spoiled, and she's just so great. You know, being able to pick out things like that for me and be able to afford to get me stuff like that is just it's incredible. It's excellent. I'm very lucky. So yeah, you know, as a kid and, you know, in my adult years, always wanted an arcade cabinet, and I was always interested in arcade 1-up cabinets. I thought they were cool, and so getting it for Christmas was awesome. I mean, as a Christmas gift, you know, as Christmas gifts go, getting something that is huge like that, as a big present to open, was great. You know, it was awesome. So she has a hard time keeping secrets, and so before Christmas even came around, you know, she spilled the beans that she wanted to get me one, and we were looking at different ones, and you know, there's a whole slew of arcade 1-up cabinets that you can get, and there's some older ones. There's an older Street Fighter arcade 1-up cabinet. This is one of the newer ones, and I think there's two of them now. So there are two newer arcade 1-up cabinet Street Fighter models that you can get. There's this one, which is the Yoga Flame edition, and then there's the Big Blue. So we were looking at both, and I was trying to make a decision on which one to get, and I wanted to get this one. I chose this one because I thought it looked cooler, because it has really nice artwork on the side, and I thought the other one was a little bit just too plain and too basic. This one comes with 14 different games. I believe it's 14 games. It comes with 3 different versions of Street Fighter 2. Then you got Puzzle Fighter, and some other really cool ones like Giga Blast or Giga something. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of games on this thing, like Strider and what else? There's like oh man, I'm drawing a blank here. I don't know. I'll throw in a list or something so I can, so you guys can just look it up. It's not that hard. So comes with a bunch of games, and the idea was that maybe I would mod it. I wasn't sure, but it was a possibility. So before I even got it, I was trying to figure out whether or not I would do that and kind of throwing that idea around. Whatever. Anyway, Christmas comes. I get it. I take it out of the box. It's freaking awesome. I was going to make a video, building it and then reviewing it, and I'd actually started making the video. I did the intro for it, and I scrapped the whole project because this shows you how crazy I am, that I scrapped the whole project because the intro video I was wearing like a really tight shirt and I looked kind of fat in it, and I was like, oh, that's totally, nope, absolutely not. We scrapped that. So yeah, I was gonna do like a video of like how do you build it and like my thoughts on it or whatever. That never came to pass. But putting it together was not too hard at all. For someone like myself who doesn't really build many things, and I've built IKEA furniture before and shit like that. I've done simple projects, whatever, but nothing like this. I've never built anything like this. I'm not like the kind of person who builds shit. I'm not in construction or whatever. I'm not like I'm not skilled that way, so I thought it'd be fun. The whole concept of these arcade one-up cabinets where you get it and you put it together and you build it yourself, so you kind of have like this feeling of pride that you put it together and you kind of built this thing, is kind of part of the appeal of the whole thing. It's what makes arcade one-up cabinets kind of cool, is that you have to put it together yourself. And so it took me a lot longer than I thought it would. It took me like 2 or 3 hours to build it. I thought I'd do it a lot faster. I was kind of cramped with space, and I was really taking my time. I wanted to get it right. So I filmed that as, I'm trying to put the thing together, like maybe I'll use this footage for like a video or whatever. I never did. But putting it together was rather easy. So for anyone that's interested in getting an arcade one-up cabinet, you shouldn't have too much of a hard time. It's pretty straightforward, pretty user-friendly and dummy-proof, I would say. So yeah, so I get the cabinet, I build it, really awesome. It was like the day after Christmas that I put the whole thing together, and very quickly I was up and running and playing games on it. So then shortly after that, my good friend, my good buddy, my best friend Chris, he had to go and get one. Of course, he picks the big blue cabinet. So now I've got the Yoga Flame edition, and he's got the big blue, and almost immediately he mods it, right? And in the days and weeks leading up to Christmas, I told him I was getting it. I was bragging. I was all excited, throwing around the idea of modding it and stuff like that. But I wasn't really sure if I was going to do it or not, or how fast I would try to go into that endeavor. And right off the bat, of course, he mods it, and it comes out really well. It takes him a while to do it. He claims he did it in a day. It was longer than that, but it kind of got my juices flowing. Like, well, if my best friend's gonna do it, I gotta do it, right? But I wanted to enjoy it first the way it was for a while. I felt like modding it, if I was gonna do it the way you would traditionally do it, by like putting a Raspberry Pi in it or some other means, I'm gonna lose the ability to use the arcade one-up software. And this one just so happened to have like an online feature, so you could play people online and stuff like that. So I kind of held off on modding it for a few reasons. One, I wanted to enjoy it for what it was, and two, I wasn't sure. I knew I was gonna have some headaches. I knew it was gonna be some issues, and I didn't want to damage it. I didn't want to ruin it. It was a gift for Christmas from my girl, and God forbid I break this thing and somehow it's damaged beyond repair. I would never be able to live with myself if something like that happened. So I put off modding it for quite a long time, and so for 2 months I'm getting demolished in Street Fighter. So it comes with 3 versions. I believe it's 3 versions of Street Fighter 2. You got Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. and they're all the arcade versions of Street Fighter, and they're hard as hell. You know, I had actually never played. I mean, I've gone to the arcades and fucked around a little bit with playing Street Fighter in the arcades, but you know, I would say 98% of my, you know, old school Street Fighter 2 experience was on console, like Sega and Super Nintendo. So, you know, I never really got a good feel for playing Street Fighter 2 on an arcade cabinet with the joysticks and everything like that, and the buttons, and the arcade level of difficulty. And, you know, it's just ridiculous, man. I didn't shoot any video of it, but my God, the computer is like insanely, ridiculously strong. I'm getting wiped out in the first fight, especially in Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I believe. The one with the new characters, with Cammy and DJ and Thunderhawk and whatever, and Fei Long. That version of Street Fighter, which is the best one, you know, it's the coolest one to get the most characters and everything, is the hardest one, and I'm getting destroyed. I'm getting floored. The controls are not like rock solid perfect. There's a little bit of delay. Naturally, it's, you know, it's an arcade one-up cabinet. They cut costs with like not using the most not the best buttons and joysticks and stuff like that. They're kind of cheaper, you know, buttons and joysticks, and there's a little bit of a delay and all this stuff. And then you can finally play people online, right? That's great. The people online, it's not just other people with this cabinet. It's like, I don't know who else I'm fighting, but people are using freaking Turbo, and I'm getting wiped out. And it was after like a few months of playing some of the other games and enjoying that and getting just beat to hell in Street Fighter that I was just like, you know what, fuck this shit. I can't fully enjoy this cabinet because I can't even play Street Fighter and enjoy it, you know, properly. So that was one of the tipping points where I'm like, fine, I'm gonna mod this thing. My best friend had done it for a while now. He's had this cabinet, and he's sending me all these pictures, and I'm like, I can get so much more out of this thing if I mod it. Now, was I gonna use a Raspberry Pi? What was I gonna do? I've got a gaming laptop from like 2017. It's an Acer Predator Helios 300. Thing has been sitting around gathering dust. I don't use it too much. I'm like, you know what would be great if I used, and you can kind of see it there, if I used my gaming laptop to run this thing. I'm not gonna spend $300-400 on a Raspberry Pi, which would, I wanted to do that in a way because I kind of wanted the cabinet to be this self-contained thing where it's not relying on anything externally to run it. I felt like it would just make it more of a, I don't know, make more legit. Like if the thing was all closed up and it had its own like little computer inside, little, you know, got a Raspberry Pi or whatever that would run the software. But I'm like, you know what? There's no need to do that. I can play more modern games and do a lot more with this cabinet using my gaming laptop. So that's what I decided to do. I'm like, fine. So great. Decision's been made. We're gonna mod it. Fingers crossed. Hope this goes well. Whatever. We're gonna get into me actually modding this thing very, very soon. But before I actually talk about my experience with modding it, I want to talk to you just a little bit about my thoughts on arcade one-up cabinets in general. And as I've said, I always wanted one. You know, I always thought they were cool, but being, you know, very expensive. Typically, these things are $300-400 or more, especially in, you know, years past. They seem to be coming down in price now, and you can get them, you know, on like, you know, online and shit like that. Was it Etsy or eBay? You can get used ones for a lot less. But, you know, being expensive and the fact that, you know, as much as I'm a retro gamer and I love retro games, they come with, you know, 10, 12 games, some a little bit more, a little bit less. So how much am I actually going to use it? Whatever. But, you know, I always thought arcade one-up cabinets were cool. Always had my eye on them. And there are so many different cabs to choose from, you know. And now that when I knew I was getting this, you know, in December as Christmas is approaching, now I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get like a whole bunch of them, right? Because I've got this really cool setup now downstairs. Obviously, you guys can see now I've moved. I used to have my own apartment. Now I'm living with my girlfriend, and we have a house in, you know, here on Long Island. Almost gave away where we live. And so we've got a basement, and I can do a lot of cool stuff down here. I got more room now, so I'm thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get all these different arcade cabinets. I'm gonna make it look really nice. It's gonna be like I have an arcade in the basement. As a gamer, who doesn't want like a really cool arcade in their basement, you know? I would say for most people, something like this, you're gonna use it occasionally, but really it's just gonna be like a decoration in your home, something like you know, people come over and, you know, your friend comes over and you play a little bit, and it's like, you know, people that may come over are like, oh wow, look at that, you know. But most people, they're not gonna really use it like you would play like a PS5 or your Xbox or your Nintendo Switch like every day for months and years to come, you know. And that's kind of like the deal with these things. Like, that's why you got to get more than one if you really want to make use of them. You know, once you have like 5 or 10 of them, now you've got like a whole bunch of options. But just one, even with 10 or 12 games or 15 games or whatever, even having online functionality, how much are you really going to use it, you know? Most newer cabinets, they come with 10 to 20 games, and that's great. But, you know, there are things about the cabinet that you would think it's interesting. Like, you would, I'm just so surprised that to this day they still have no ability. There's no like online store where you can download more games to your cabinet, you know. I think that's one of the big things that kind of hinders arcade 1-up cabinets, is that you really can't. I'm getting tired of holding this mic. I need a mic arm for this thing. Hopefully I don't mess with the volume. You would think that since they have, I don't know, 50 to 100 games, I think that they're allowed to put on their cabinets, that they would have, you know, some kind of storefront where you can download more of these games, so that you don't have to keep dropping $300-$400, $500 on a different cabinet, so you can play, you know, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, or, you know, NFL Blitz. They got NFL Blitz, they got Ninja Turtles, they got all these different cabinets. It's crazy to me that, you know, for whatever reason, they don't have a storefront. They just released an app not that long ago now that you can kind of like track your progress and stuff like that, I think, and see high scores or whatever. I don't know. I didn't look at it too much. I downloaded it, didn't mess with it too much. And you can do, there's other things you can do. You can soft mod these cabinets. A lot of them, you're able to soft mod them and like kind of side load more games onto the cabinet with, you know, its existing. They have some storage, not a lot, but there is more storage space on these cabinets that you can do things like that. You can add games and soft mod and stuff like that, which I was thinking about doing, but, you know, I don't know. Like, if you soft mod it, can you then, you know, can you upgrade the controls? Because as you can see, I don't know if you can tell or not, but like I got, you know, nice lit up buttons and better joysticks and whatever. I bought a whole kit for that. So I'm thinking like, yeah, if I soft mod it, then how do I upgrade the controls? Because you really want better controls, you know. The cabinet, the way it comes, the joysticks and the buttons are not great. They're really not. I hate to say it, but they kind of suck. So, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna soft mod. It was a thought, but then I'm like, well, what about the controls or whatever? I don't know. As a final thought on my feelings on arcade 1-up cabinets in general, they're really cool. It's fun, you know. It's fun to put them together. It's you know, you have a friend come over, you can play together. But as good as it is, like, look how small that thing is. I mean, it's big enough for one person, but when you get 2 people, it's cramped. And some of these, like, I believe the Ninja Turtles one, it's like because it's a 4-player game, they're larger in a sense. At least the control deck is, so that you could probably fit a couple more people in there or whatever. But it's cramped, right? So it's much better for one person to use it. You can play 2 people. It's fine. You're just gonna, you know, you're gonna bump into them. And me and my girl, we've been playing. We can make it work, but like, we're on top of each other. But it is what it is. Overall, though, they're cool. I just think they need to make some more improvements. They haven't really even been releasing like too many new cabinets, too many new games and stuff like that. There's so many games, so many arcade games that they could do, and so much more they could do with these things. So I don't know. I mean, I could do a whole video on just that. Let's talk about modding the cabinet. You know, my experience doing the mod now. I think that's what everybody came here for, and that's the most important part of it. So, time to talk about modding. Alright, so it's modding time. Now, as I said, a good friend of mine went through the whole process of modding his arcade cabinet well in advance before I did mine. And so, you he was telling me all about what he was doing and sending me pictures and stuff like that, and I've been watching some videos online on how to mod it and shit like that. So I kind of had an understanding as to what I was getting myself into, and a friend to rely on for questions and help as I was about to start doing this. So the first thing, obviously I had to order all the shit that I needed. Those parts consist of an HDMI control board, because these arcade 1-up cabinets, their screens, you can't just plug an HDMI cable into them. It doesn't work that way. So you got to get like this HDMI control board thing that plugs into the screen. The screen's got a wire comes out that you plug into the control board, which then allows you to plug in, a Raspberry Pi using HDMI, or it's got some other display inputs as well, not just HDMI, but it's got some options there, so it allows you to, connect whatever uses HDMI. Obviously, the better controls, so I got a whole, kit for modding it with the new buttons and joysticks and whatnot. Then you need an amp to power your speakers. Got that. Something like a step bit, so it's a thing that you put on your drill so that you can drill, because now if you're gonna mod it, you need to add buttons to this thing, because you're gonna need select buttons and other buttons and stuff like that. You can add as many buttons as you really want to, but you're gonna need, you could do start, but then you got no select, so you got to add buttons. Now you got to drill holes into the particle board. So I got a step bit, which makes it very easy to drill through. And then I wanted to add wheels on this thing. You can kind of see I got some wheels on it, so I ordered some wheels, and I didn't need a Raspberry Pi, so I didn't order that, and some other miscellaneous stuff, screws and whatever, sticky tape, double-sided tape, anything else I thought that I would need. Order all the stuff, everything starts coming in, cool. So it's time to start tinkering, and of course, almost every step of the way, I experience issues. And that's just my life, that's just how things go for me. Nothing's ever easy, nothing's ever simple. Most people who do this project seem like they don't have too many issues. I have all the issues, every single one of them. Everything goes wrong, problem after problem. So with modding the cabinet, you obviously need all the things that I mentioned. It's not too much of a problem. It's kind of simple, taking the back off of the cabinet and getting in there to mod it. After all, you put it together, right? So you're gonna have a very good understanding as to what you need to do. It's really like you got the screen. I'm gonna show you a video of the screen, the old screen taken off, so you can see the back of it. But you got the LCD screen, and then there's like the motherboard is behind the screen, and then there's like a piece of metal that protects that goes over it, so you gotta pop that off, and then you take the old motherboard out, and you will then connect your HDMI control board. I call it an HDMI control board. It's not just HDMI, you got other video input options there, but it's really that simple. It's just taking that thing off of the screen and replacing it, replacing that with this control board, which allows you to do video for a Raspberry Pi or whatever. And I wanted to start this project by first putting wheels on it, right? Because it's heavy and it's cumbersome, and not only that, but I'm tall. I'm 6 feet tall, and I can't stand and play it. I have to sit on the stool. If I stand up, it doesn't work. I gotta like squat and assume the gamer stance position, like almost in like a horse stance, so that I can lower myself to get a better line of sight on the screen. So I wanted to get this thing some height. I wanted to add some height. I wanted to be able to move it around nice and easy. So the first thing I do is I install some wheels on it, which wasn't a big deal. It was pretty easy. Yeah, it makes it easier to manage moving it around for this project, and makes it a little bit taller, just a little bit taller. I still have to crouch down a little bit if I want to stand, but it's just much better now. That added 3 to 4 inches that I'm getting there, it makes a big difference. So I pop the back off the cabinet. It's just this very long piece of, it's almost like cardboard. It's a little thin piece of particle board. Pop that off the back of the cabinet and remove the old motherboard with the arcade 1-up software on it and everything. Disconnect all the wires and shit like that. And now I have to drill some holes, right? I have to add a piece of wood so that I can fasten the new video control board, because you can't just put it on, you can't mount it to the metal, excuse me, the back of the LCD screen, which is, it's just metal. Apparently you're not allowed, you can't just, it's not a good idea to just put it on there. So my friend had cut me a nice piece of wood so that it will slot in there just nice, and I'll be able to, you know, using some double-sided tape, just put the control board on that piece of wood. So it's a heavy, big block of wood, and drilling these holes was not easy. So I'm not even really thinking what I'm doing. I'm just going about my business, and I drill right through the particle board and right through, it goes right through the plexiglass, because the screen has this big piece of plexiglass that goes over it, and it goes all the way down. And I didn't take the time to look behind the controls. You got to, you know, pop off this whole thing, this whole thing, this thing right here. That's a piece of wood, and that comes off, and then you can get access under there. And if I would have done that, I would have seen that, you know, that piece of plexiglass keeps going. So anyway, first thing I did, first mistake, is I'm drilling holes behind the LCD screen, right through the particle board, right through the plexiglass, in both places, on both sides, and crack the plexiglass. It's not a big deal, because you can't see, it's cracked, but you can't see it. It's actually going to be behind the controls, and that piece of wood there. So it's like, all right, no big deal. I drilled some holes. I didn't take the time, whatever, to properly assess the thickness and whatnot. No big deal. So that's mistake number one. I cracked the plexiglass. Now the wiring harness that goes from the LCD screen to the motherboard, it's like really thin wires, man. Like, the wires are so fragile that it's ridiculous. And so I had to use some force when I was pulling the wire off of the motherboard for the arcade cabinet, like the board that it comes with. You know, you gotta pull off all these wires. So I may have used too much force. I don't know. Maybe I yanked too hard on the wire that's connected inside to the screen, because it's a very short wire. I don't know what I did, but I may have damaged that wire. I try to be gentle, but you know, I'm tinkering back there. I'm messing with things. Finally get everything hooked up, and I get nothing but a red, green, and blue screen that just keeps cycling. So everything's done now. You know, the old board's off, the new control board's on, everything's wired up correctly, everything, the power's plugged in. I go to hook up my laptop to it, and you know, turn the screen on, and I got nothing. And I knew right away, this is going to be a problem, man. There should be no issues here. Like, everything's wired correctly. I check it and double check it. I'm sending my friend pictures of, like, did I wire this right and everything? Yeah, you wired it right. So I'm getting no screen. I'm getting no video input. Nothing. So maybe after doing some research, it's like you got to get just the right control board for the screen that you have, based on the serial number or the model number. I just ordered whatever I found on Amazon. I think I tried to order the same one that he got. And so I'm like, all right, maybe it's the wrong control board. Let me order the right one, and we'll see what happens. So I look on the back of my monitor, and I check the serial number and the model number, and I go on Amazon, and I find that there's one for that exact screen. I'm like, okay, that must be it. That's what the problem is. I ordered the wrong thing. Let me get the right one. The new one comes, hook everything back up, and same problem, same issue, no display. What the fuck's going on here? What is going on? All right, everything's wired correctly. Well, what the hell could possibly be happening here? After tirelessly I'm changing things around. I'm screwing with this little pin thing that you can move it around. All this crap. Finally, after troubleshooting enough, I realize, like, I must have damaged the wiring harness that goes from the actual screen to the control board, which was initially the motherboard for the arcade 1-up cabinet that it comes with. Either I damaged the part that connects to the motherboard itself, or I was yanking on it and it got fucked up on the inside part, which means now I gotta take the screen out, pop everything off, and check that wire. I'm like, man, this is ridiculous. So now I'm thinking, like, now I'm really upset. Like, Like the screen is a huge component of this whole thing. I got to be able to see. So one of my worst fears realized right away. I'm getting no picture. I'm getting nothing. And I'm thinking like, well, what can I do? I could get another monitor. I could buy something that has HDMI input and just put it in there. But that's not easy. It's not that simple. So I'm doing everything I can to figure out what I can do to get a new screen put in there, and I come across this website that sells all kinds of accessories for arcade 1-up cabinets, and they've got screens. They've got bigger screens. I'm like, awesome. So I can get, and not only do these screens are they bigger, but they come already set up. So they come with the control board and everything's wired up and everything. All you got to do is literally just slide it in and plug it in. I don't have to do anything. So everything's already apart and torn apart anyway. And I already fucked up the plexiglass on the screen, and you know, it wasn't a big deal, but like, so I'm like, you know what, fine. It was like almost $200 to get a new monitor. And I'm like, you know what, no big deal. The screen's kind of small anyway. I'd like to get a bigger screen. So as I'm looking at the website, there's not too much to go on there. You know, you can change like the frame, like the graphics and stuff there on whatever you order. You can get like one that's for your cabinet, or at least I thought so. There's all these different options. You can upload your own artwork that they'll do like a custom border around the screen for you. And there's two options of, I thought you can choose whether you want horizontal or vertical increase in screen size. So I'll show you that now. As you can see, they give you two options, horizontal or vertical. So I'm thinking I can either increase the screen size horizontally or vertically. So I want vertical. I want more of a wider screen. So that's the one I choose. I choose Street Fighter artwork, and I choose a horizontal screen, thinking it's gonna be bigger, you know, this way, not this way. New screen comes. It takes days to get the new screen, but it finally does come. Excuse me. And you know, after I get home from work, take the thing out of the box, I take a look at it. I'm like, the graphics, I don't understand. Like, you can see here, like this. Why am I having such a hard time doing this? The screen here, like, that's like retro 80s stuff that's going on there. Down here, down here, there's like some Street Fighter artwork or whatever, and on top, you know, you got whatever the fuck's going on up here. I'm like, fine, whatever. It looks good. It's good enough. Let me put it in. And apparently it's supposed to be very easy. You just unscrew the side of the cabinet and make it a little bit easier to like open her up. You just gotta like slide it in on the top. But of course, I have the Yoga Flame Edition Street Fighter cabinet, not the big blue one. And not, you know, we have so many different arcade cabinet configurations. Of course, I've got one with all this nonsense going on up here. All this, god damn it. It's very simple. This is not hard to do. It's front and back, and it's like this. So you got all this stuff going on up here. You know, in the video, it shows it to be very simple. That you just, you know, make this side. I can't do it. I swear to God, I can't do it. This side right here, you just loosen up one of the sides so that you can kind of like open it a little bit, and then you just take off all the top shit, pop the old one out, put the new one in. Well, mine is a little bit harder to do because I got all this stuff going on up there. And so trying to put the new screen in was a headache. I had all kinds of issues doing that. I'm dropping pieces of wood, like from the top, it's coming down and hitting the screen. I'm yelling and screaming, I'm getting all upset. It's a friggin' disaster. Finally get the screen installed, finally get everything put back in place. And they got some scuff marks on the plexiglass, not a big deal, whatever. And then I put the control deck back in place and realize, like, what the fuck is going on here? Now the screen gets cut off. So the screen is too low. It comes down too much. So this piece of wood now extends out and cuts off the screen. So great, I've got this new bigger screen, and it fits. It did fit in. It took some finagling, but I got it in. But the artwork up here gets cut off, as you can see. artwork up here gets cut off, and the screen gets cut off down here. What the hell am I gonna do? This is some like hole-in-the-wall company. I don't even know where they're from. To try and return this screen, I'm like, that's not even gonna be an option. I'm not trying to return the screen and get a different screen or whatever. Now I gotta come up with a solution for that. My solution is to now cut the particle board. This part of the board here. I've been doing this a lot. I hope this is helping you guys understand what I'm talking about. This part of the board, I'll get this right eventually. This part of the board I have to cut now, where it meets the screen. If I cut enough of it off, I'll be able to see the whole thing. But I don't have any tools. It's great. I got everything wired up, the screen's working, but the screen is getting cut off by the freaking control board, control deck, wood, and now I gotta make some cuts here. Right? It's particle board, it's not just wood. This is particle board we're talking about. It's not just easy to cut with just anything. And I don't have any fucking tools, alright? I'm not a DIY guy. I'm not building shit in my backyard. You know, I've never been a homeowner before. I don't really do stuff like that. So, you know, I'm not a man with a whole bunch of tools. You know? I got a lot of other shit. I got a lot of games and crap and electronics and stuff, but not a whole lot in the tools department. So now I gotta go buy some shit to start cutting wood. And my first thought is I'll just take this whole piece, because this whole piece comes out, just pops right off, and I'll just bring that to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's and see if they'll cut the particle board for me just where I need it, so I don't have to do anything. But of course they don't cut particle board like that. They don't cut wood like that. Now I could have brought it to like a lumber yard, but I'm now the location that I'm living in, I don't think there are too many lumber yards around here, not that I know of anyway. So I'm like, fine, I'm gonna do it myself. So I went out and bought a Dremel, which, you know, is always handy to have. It's a good idea to have something like that anyway. I'm gonna start building my tools up now. You know, this project is now like getting me into like, I'm gonna start getting tools and shit. I got a drill. I'm gonna get all the other shit. I went and bought a new toolbox and a whole bunch of stuff, you know. So I got a Dremel, and I'll bring the Dremel home. A couple days later, it's time to start cutting some wood. Wasn't easy. It took some figuring out, because like I needed to secure this piece of wood somewhere that it would sit tight, and I didn't really have anything to do that. So I had to come up with some. I had to improvise there and think outside of the box on how I was going to clamp this thing down to cut the wood. Anyway, I'm going on and on. I was able to cut the wood well enough that it was nice enough and looked good enough that it would do the job. So the Dremel worked. It cut the particle board. It was fun cutting some wood, whatever. The board cut was complete, not perfect, but well enough. Now I need to start drilling some holes. I got my step bit. I'm drilling holes into the wood for some extra buttons. Cool. Install the buttons and the joysticks. We're doing great. But as I'm installing one of the joysticks, I drilled too far, because you gotta drill new holes now for the joysticks. They won't line up with the old holes. Of course not. So I gotta drill new holes. There's a lot of new holes to be drilled throughout this project. I'm not telling you every step of the way here, every little thing I'm doing, but trust me, I'm drilling a lot of shit. I'm drilling a lot of holes, and with putting the controls in, I had to drill some new holes. So one time I got a little too crazy, and I cut right through. It's a small hole, not a big deal, but I did accidentally cut through the board. But lo and behold, I get the buttons put in, I get the sticks put in, the wood is cut, you know, just where it needs to be. So now I can see the whole screen, put that shit in, and we're in business. We're kind of doing okay now. Of course, one of the buttons wasn't lighting up, so now I got to take the whole thing out again. Fortunately, the kit I got came with a whole bunch of extra buttons, so I was able to just swap that one out. It's one of the red ones that wasn't lighting up, wasn't working. Swap out a button. Now I got all the buttons lighting up. I got the screen working, fantastic. But a lot of the games I'm going to be playing are through RetroArch and Steam. The first game I try to start playing is Tekken, the new Tekken 8 game. How the hell do I map controls on Steam? So I was having a hard time trying to figure out how to map controls for this stupid thing. I was able to finally figure it out, but that was frustrating too. RetroArch is a little bit easier, but Steam, I was having issues for whatever reason trying to figure out how to map controls there. But I did finally find the option to do that. So now that I've got, you know, things pretty much working, I need sound, right? So I had bought the amp. I had some speakers laying around from, those are actually some surround sound speakers I used to use in my old apartment. That seemed like they would be a good idea for this, but they're rated for like a max of 200 watts. And the amp I've got is like a little 25 watt amp. So I'm like, are they going to be strong enough? These speakers are small, but if they can handle 200 watts, it's going to be enough power coming out of this amp. No problem there, actually. The amp powers the speakers just fine. It sounds like really good. It actually sounds like an arcade. It sounds like an arcade cabinet should. So that worked out fine. I was able to install the amp, put it right on top. Some people opt to put this amp inside the cabinet, but I put it outside and exposed so that I can control the volume and stuff like that. I had a whole bunch of different thoughts on where I would put the, mount the amp, but I felt like that was the best spot for it. So we're moving along here. We've got picture, we've got controls, we've got sound, but now the stupid marquee light. So this marquee, this lights up, and that was all connected. Everything connected to this one board that the arcade cabinet came with. That was attached, that was mounted to the back of the LCD screen. And now, to try and power just this little sign, I had to go and get like these special. Damn, I really need a mic arm. I need like these special little adapters that will, because the plug is so small for the power cord coming out of this light. I needed like these special little adapters so that I could use the power cord that came with the cabinet. Anyway, the marquee light has got its own power cord, to make it work. But I did figure that out as well. And that was important as well. I want the marquee light looks nice. I wanted that to work, so I got that wired up. And last but not least, I need to get now I have to order something else now. I need a power strip, because I need everything for the cabinet to plug into a power strip that can be turned on and off on its own. Because in order to turn the monitor on and off, it's got like this I don't know, this small little motherboard doohickey with these buttons on it that it's mounted inside and behind the screen in the cabinet. So like, to press the power button, I would have to like pull the thing out and go back there and press the button. So I want to be able to like turn the whole cabinet on, screen and all, with the press of a button. So now I've got, you can see down there, I've got a new power strip. Everything's plugged into that. So if I want the cabinet on, I just press the button. Everything powers on. The screen, the marquee light, the amp, and then the buttons and shit are powered by and turn on through the laptop. And what else? I ordered a USB hub for the controls for player 1 and player 2. So they're both now connected to a USB hub, a 4-slot USB hub that connects to my laptop. So that was the only other thing that I had to order. But I had to order a whole bunch of shit, and I had to buy a whole bunch of shit. Between the control deck, the button kit, the screen itself, the amp, the wheels, the USB hub. What else? There's a whole bunch of shit. The screen. Did I say that already? I had to order a whole bunch of shit and spent a whole lot of extra money that I didn't anticipate spending. But the last step was tidying up all the wires back there, which I did real nice. So everything inside is wired up real nice. I had to drill some newer holes in that piece of cardboard that seals up the back of the cabinet. So I drilled some holes back there, and that's it. I mean, I don't think I'm missing anything as far as problems that I had along the way. Obviously, you can see I added some lights. Man, my spatial awareness is not great, huh? I added some LED lights. Of course, I gotta do that because I'm crazy and I love my lights. So I added some cool lights to the thing. Yeah, this was over the course of about 3 weeks that it took to do all this shit. Troubleshooting things and ordering different shit and, drilling holes in the wrong spot, drilling holes through wood. It was just cutting particle board, things I never thought I would have to do. I ran into problems that I didn't expect, things I didn't anticipate I would have a problem with. But as you can see, it's freaking awesome. Now that it's done, it's great. It's just super cool. And having the stool that matches, that was part of the whole thing, that the whole gift when she got me. It wasn't just the cabinet, it was the stool as well. It just completes the whole thing, man. So finally in business. It took me 3 weeks, lots of different troubleshooting techniques and looking things up online and ordering stupid shit, but I got it. It was something. I don't know. So was it worth it? Was it worth it in the end after all the problems I went through and everything? Yes, it was worth it. It was a fun project. The whole thing was fun. There were moments of enjoyment. Putting it together when I first got it, that was fun. Had a good time doing that. It was like I felt like a real man, you know, putting together some real thing here. The modding portion of it, yes and no. It was what I expected it to be. I knew I was going to have issues, and I sure as hell had some issues. Things I ran into that I didn't necessarily plan for, but I had to make it work. I could not let Sweet's gift be ruined. You know, there was just no way that I was gonna. It didn't matter what happened. Like, I would replace every goddamn thing on this thing if I had to get it working, to get it usable. So it was like, once I started modding this thing, I knew, you know, despite whatever issues I may have or whatever I may face, like, we gotta figure it out. And that was kind of the fun part of it, you know. Like, I had to improvise, and it's just part of the experience, you know. You just do whatever you gotta do to make the thing work. I would say if you're gonna mod your arcade 1-up cabinet, do better research than I did. Just plan it out better. Because I thought I prepped for it well enough, but a lot of it was improvised, and as I'm going along, I'm just kind of figuring shit out as I do it. Not having any tools did not help. Those of you who are better equipped will probably have a much easier time than I did. And you know, the bigger screen, it's nice. It looks really good actually. From certain angles, like sharp angles, like if I'm standing like over here or over there, and you look at it from, like on an angle or whatever, it gets like washed out. It's one of those screens where like looking at it head on or from slight angles is a lot better. You know, it's not like a really expensive screen. Even the one that came with the cabinet, it's just, you know, it's not like my computer monitors and like your TV and whatever. They just, I don't know. It looks really good though. It looks great. It looks clean and clear, and the colors are nice and everything, but on angles, not perfect. Not nearly perfect, but it's fine. You know, the only thing with the screen though is that it's an odd resolution. It's an odd shape. So oftentimes when I'm playing games like Street Fighter, like the new Street Fighter 6 or the new Tekken 8, any more modern game that's more of like a widescreen format or 16:9, you're gonna have the top and the bottom, you know, the black bars. A lot of retro games that are like, you can see, you've been watching it this whole damn time, the X-Men vs Street Fighter, any retro game that's a 4:3 aspect ratio pretty much fills the whole thing. It looks great, but I hate unused screen real estate. It drives me nuts. So like playing more modern games on it with black bars on the top and bottom, you know, it drives me crazy, but I'll get over that. You know, you can change the resolution, but then things are stretched out. So it's a give and take, and it's, you know, pick your poison, I guess. So I'll opt for the correct resolution and deal with the bars. Can I recommend this, you know, third-party company that makes these things? I guess, yeah. I guess I will. Just do your research and choose the correct graphics. There was only a few options for Street Fighter, or just one really. I thought was the right one, but you know, it works. It looks fine. The only thing that drives me nuts is, you know, the top. That doesn't, you know, a lot of the artwork there, the words or whatever, get cut off. Oh well, big freaking deal. When you're standing over it, you can see down. You can see the little pictures of the fighters and stuff like that. So the little box art, it looks fine. It works okay. And you know, I like the fact that I put lights on it. It looks kind of cool. I did the best I could with the wire management. It looks pretty sloppy here. Looks pretty atrocious actually. I gotta work on that. I gotta tidy that up. But you know, overall, it was fun. It was an experience, and actually now I kind of feel like, now that it's done, I feel like I'm longing for another project. I feel like it was just cool. Like, I don't know. it was a fun project to do, to have that to look forward to when you come home from work or on the weekends or whatever. This took place over days and weeks. I thought I was going to get this thing done in a day or two, and boy was I mistaken. You know, who the hell do I think I am with this shit? Like, I thought I was going to put this thing together in like 45 minutes. It took me 2 or 3 hours. Most people will get it done in like an hour and a half. Me, I was slow and methodical about it. And in the modding process, you could probably do that, you know, in a day or two, unless you run into issues like I did. But, you know, overall, now, the thing is, it's awesome. Now I can play anything on it. Anything I want. Any arcade game that I want to play. I've got MAME, I've got RetroArch, I have access to hundreds, if not thousands, of Nintendo and Super Nintendo and Genesis and PlayStation 1, 2, and PS Vita games, well, PSP games. I still can't get PS Vita to I gotta find the right emulator for that. But I've been playing Tekken 8 and a whole bunch of fighting games. It's great for fighting games. Obviously, it's all set up for that. I'm trying to make use of it as much as I can, and I am certainly making use of it, and it looks great. I'm very proud of it. So I think it's a mission accomplished. I still need to add some buttons, but I don't want to drill any more holes, and I don't want to take this thing apart again. The problem is, a lot of these games require more buttons, right? So, what is it? With an Xbox controller, you have a total of, what, 10 button presses? You got the 4 face buttons, you got the left and right analog sticks. Well, that's you got 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got a total of 10 button presses that you can do. With this, now I've got 3, 6, 7, 8. I need to add some more buttons, but I don't want to, I don't know, maybe I will. But my friend did that. He added more buttons. I think by now I've probably showed you some pictures of my friend's, his cabinet. His came out very nice. So before I started working on my cabinet, before I started the project, I went all the way out to see him and saw his cabinet, and I was like, wow, man, this thing is, I was impressed. So it was just fuel for the fire, just like almost a competition thing. We're always trying to one-up each other, and I'm like, I'm not going to let you have the superior cabinet. I got mine first. It's my idea. You stole my idea. You're a son of a bitch. And I'm going to make mine nicer. And I did. Mine's better. Yours sucks. I win. The end. That's it. I think I've said everything I want to say about this. Maybe I've forgotten some stuff. I always do. I always make my video and say, oh, I should have said this, or I should have said that. I have all these things I want to say, and I did the best I could. As you can see, I've been reading all these talking points here that I've got to try and cover everything. But I hope this is helpful for somebody, or just interesting. I wish I would have done the video as I was doing the project. I wish I would have shot some more footage or whatever. Didn't do any of that. It was just a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I swear to God, there were so many times I was going to give up. I was throwing my hands in the air. I was cursing and screaming and yelling and flipping out, because that's what I do. I get all upset, and it was just, quitting was not an option on this thing. And now I feel like I need another project. I don't know what else that would be, but I feel like I got to do something else now. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. Should you mod your arcade one up? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess so. It depends. I think if you're happy with what it is, it depends. Like, if you're a hardcore gamer like I am, like, I'm the hardest of core gamers, so I want to use this thing, right? When I first got it, or I knew I was getting it, I was posting on Discord, and somebody in one of the servers was like, yeah, you know, it's great, but you're never going to use it. And I'm like, psh, man, I knew what he meant. Like, I know what he was talking about, but like, when I get something like this, I'm gonna go out of my way to use it. Even if I really don't want to use it, I'm gonna use it, you know? All the money she spent and everything, I'm not gonna like not use the thing. But now I'm really gonna use it. I'm gonna use it all the time. It's nice to have it, you know? And it's great now for more competitive fighting game stuff. So I still have a long ways to go. I've never really gotten great at using like an arcade stick and the buttons and stuff. I've always used more of a controller. And so I'm always at a disadvantage now when I play like fighting games using this thing, because I'm just not great with like a joystick. I'm just not. And the buttons and stuff like that. I was gonna say it's gonna take me years, but I don't think I'll ever get to the level of where I'm at with a controller, like my skill and how good I can be in a fighting game with a controller, as I'll be with something like that. It's got its advantages, to be sure, but you know, for me, it's just I just don't have enough hours, you know, playing with an arcade stick. So anyway, guys, that's my video. I hope this was enjoyable for some of you and helpful or whatever. If you got questions, of course, leave them in the comments. I will help if I can. I will answer questions, whatever you need. I'm here, and we'll see if maybe I make some more videos. I have nothing else in mind right now, but I wanted to make something. It's almost been a year. Let's see, last video I did was Street Fighter 6, and that was June of last year. And man, what a missed opportunity. Last year was one of the best years we've ever had in gaming, and I missed out on so much. There were so many games I wanted to do a video for, so many things I wanted to talk about. Never got a chance to. But you know, it was a busy year last year. Moving was a big deal. It took a lot out of me. I had no desire to make videos. But anyway, guys, that's my time. I hope you enjoyed the video. I will hopefully be back soon with more videos, more games to play on Double Dragon Gaming. A special shout out to my boy Chris. He's one of the people that have been like pining and asking for me to make some more content. So this one's for you, buddy. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will be back sometime. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy. Peace out.